What if it was possible to have local fresh groceries delivered right to your door? Think of all the free time you'd have. Well, Instacart gives unlimited grocery delivery for one low monthly fee. Forgot that special ingredient in your favorite dish? Instacart can deliver it to your front door in as fast as 1 hour. You can shop multiple stores, see deals in your area, and save time and money. I've been using Instacart for over 3 years. I started using them in Arizona, and I'm using them here in Florida. I love the time-saving convenience. They pick the freshest products, and they keep my eggs safe too. To receive your first delivery free, follow the link in the show notes so that Instacart knows that we sent you and to help support the show. Instacart. Never step foot in a grocery store again. Welcome to Empowered Within, a soul-quenching, transformational podcast that will set your soul on fire through candid and inspiring conversations. Leading experts, celebrities, healers, and I share our journeys of how we've overcome challenges to living an empowered life from within. I'm your host, Jennifer Pilates. Welcome to another episode of Empowered Within. Hi there, and welcome to the show. I am honored to have with us today's guest, Kelly Dowdle. Kelly is a singer, songwriter, actress, spiritual coach, and divine influence from Austin, Texas. In today's world where music goes beyond simple entertainment, Kelly has emerged as a symbol of resilience and inspiration. Previously recognized for her roles in Billions and Lucifer, she is now capturing the hearts of music listeners with her inspiring songs. Through her music, Kelly is sharing her perspective by telling passionate, sometimes personal stories that both inspire and help to heal her as a person. Kelly wants to encourage everyone to defy societal standards and challenge their comfort zones. Within months of launching her career, she streamed more than 2.5 million downloads and made her performance debut at South by Southwest in Austin. Kelly has been chasing her dreams and creating her own reality, and she is ready to share what she has learned with us today. Welcome to the show, Kelly.
What an intro. Wow. Thank you.
How fabulous are you?
Oh, thank you. You know, it's funny. I was listening and you said divine influencer, and I can't think of a more special. I mean, it's like the one title. If I could leave this earth like being anything, I think it's that. So it made me really happy to hear that.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, you do. You have incredible, spectacular energy. The backstory to us meeting, I want everyone to know, is one of those nights on social media, I was sitting here and across comes this most incredible ray of light and energy. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was Kelly. And I thought, how have I never not come across this person before? She's so magnificent. And I was like, this is going to be so random, but I'm just going to see if she wants to come on the podcast because we've got to spread her light everywhere.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you for that. Thank you. I'm so glad you reached out. This is the thing. I feel like we always have it in our minds that, oh my God, I could never reach out to them, or, oh my God, they're busy, or this person doesn't have time, but you know, on the flip side, it's such an honor to just be hit up by people. And like, you know, even if it's a simple, hey, I just wanted to send you a message and let you know that I really love what you're all about and your profile. It's really sweet. So I think it's a really important message that we all remember, especially as women, that the more that we reach out to one another and connect and plug in, I think it's really empowering, but it's also very helpful. Because I think,
Absolutely.
you know, most of us are in our rooms going, God, I don't feel good enough. You know, I'm too tired today. No one's looking at my shit anyway. It doesn't matter. Like, this is the story, right?
So, right. What's the point? Like, what am I doing? Exactly.
Right.
And we do need that sense. We do need that sense of empowering one another and bringing together of community, because we certainly have had enough segregation, and sure as hell that hasn't worked for us. So I say, let's all come together, band together, and empower one another and move forward together.
That's right.
Let's start. So first, for those of you that are listening and you can't see, Miss Kelly is sitting in Paris at this present moment in time. And I've got to describe this scenario for you. We've got this beautiful wood table. She's in her cream jacket. She's got the like sexy, saucy black shirt underneath, hair's up tousled, you know, the Paris fashion. Then behind her, the cream curtains, the windows, you can see just enough of Paris. I mean, come on. Like, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. I love it. Like, I'm all about it. But let's talk about where it all started for you. Take me back to Texas. Take me back to where your love for the creatives and entertainment came about.
Yeah. So I grew up doing commercial print modeling, and I actually was in a mall when I was 14, and I had this scout lady basically come up to my mom, and she was like, "Oh my God, your daughter has to model. She's, blah, blah, blah." So of course you hear this at a young age and you're like, okay, I guess I'll try it, but you never know what it entails. So we had set up an appointment. Long story short, we go in, and it ended up being a woman named Nancy Campbell. And the reason that she was so important is that she's the one who got me, of course, into modeling, and that really took off. I made really decent money doing that. Ended up putting myself through college, or helping my parents put me through college with that money. And she's the one who got me into print and then led me into commercials. And that's really where my heart started really finding its love for film and television. And I remember I was on a commercial shoot, and the DP on the shoot went up to my mom, and I think I was like probably 17 at the time. And he said, "Wow, the camera really loves her. Like, I think, you're in Dallas and, we're in Texas, but we do enough stuff here. She may want to consider going on some auditions for TV and film." And I was like, yes, I want to do that. That's like my dream. And ever since I was little, I've always known I'm going to be in front of the camera. I didn't know kind of in what way that would manifest. And we'll get to that later, because it's also very important that we get very specific about what we ask for, because it always happens. So,
right.
Yes. So yeah, got into TV and film, started auditioning, and things just started happening. And I decided I was going to go to New York, and I wasn't going to go to college, but my parents begged me to go to college. They were like, just get your education. So while I went to the University of Texas at Austin, well, Austin was a huge hub for film. It was beginning to really take off. So I basically started doing films in college and did a bunch of independent films. I would interview people in the streets. I remember at my sorority one time, I hosted this entire, I was had a teleprompter and hosted this entire thing. So I always just loved being in front of the cameras. I ended up graduating early in 3.5 years, and then went from Austin to LA. And that's where things really started to take off. I got a manager Sharon Lane, I still remember her name. She was a mega manager at the time, a female manager, which I loved. And things just started happening. And then, of course, I decided to go up to Santa Barbara one weekend and fell in love with this hunk of a surfer guy. Of course.
There's a few.
There's a few. And put everything on the back burner and kind of stopped acting for a while and moved up there. I now know, though, which is really interesting, I really believe that the universe and God pulled me out of LA when they did, because I was 19. I was pretty self-destructive at the time. I was really insecure. I was drinking heavily. I was skipping auditions. I was just really not clear on why I wanted to be an actress. It was more at the time, I think, more of I want attention and I want to put myself out there, which has come full circle back to why my spirit really wants to be an actress. Very different explanation. But yeah, I really believe that I was pulled out of that kind of vortex, because I think had I stayed in LA from 19 to now being 39, I think it would have not been good. So I think God was like, you know what, we're going to take a little breather. We're going to go up to Santa Barbara for 7 years, and you're going to get a lot of experience. Because I still say to this day, I can't play a role that I don't know. And I can't write a song that I don't know. And so far in my life, I have one divorce under my belt. I divorced at 30, started my entire life over again. I've had loved ones pass away. I've gone through so much heartache. I've moved 7 times. I'm now in Paris. I've lived in, 4 towns in Texas, LA, Santa Barbara, Santa Monica, New York, now Paris. I've been all over, traveled the world. And I just know now I was supposed to go through all of that to be able to write. And that's all I know now. So that's my story, condensed.
That is like the condensed version, but it's okay. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to pull more out.
Okay. I love that.
So how did we transition then from actor, actress into music? Because that's
Great question.
that's a significant transition for you.
Yeah. So COVID hit and everything shut down. Of course, production companies, everything just stopped. So there were no auditions, there were no producer sessions, there were nothing. So I had to find a way to basically be creative. I was kind of depressed. I was in a funk at that time. I didn't even have a dog. I didn't have a boyfriend. I was completely alone, which of course a lot of women can probably relate. And that was a really impactful, beautiful time for me during COVID. I learned a lot. And I remember one day I saw a guitar in the corner of the room, and my brother was a musician growing up. So I was always ear training because I was always listening to him play music. And every night that he would learn guitar, it was like torture, like nails down a chalkboard. But I always knew I'm also listening. So even though I wasn't particularly music inclined growing up, I was always singing in my room to his guitar. And while he was playing guitar, I was always listening to the notes and the keys and everything else. So I saw the guitar in the corner and I started picking it up. And I've always had this dream of being a country music star in a movie. I mean, it's always just been a thing. And I think anybody that grows up in Texas that's been in TV and film or at any point in their life or not has always dreamed of being a country music star. It's just fun. Yeah, see, there you go. So, it's really nothing more than I kind of had this like crazy psychedelic experience one night. I ate chocolate mushrooms and went on this journey, if I'm being totally transparent. And I sat up and I said, oh my God, my inner child wants to sing. And she wants to sing and she wants to be a country music star. So we're going to do that. And I started playing the guitar. The funny thing is I mentioned the commercials earlier and the other stuff because I was in a music video when I was I think I was 17. And it was for Lone Star, the music group. I don't know if you know them, but they're mega band, especially in the 90s, early 2000s. I was in that music video. It was Dean Sam's birthday, who's the guy that started that band, like no more than 2 or 3 days later after I had this epiphany. And I message him on Facebook. I say, happy birthday, Dean. And he says, hey, kiddo, how you doing? And I said, this is crazy, but I think I'm going to start singing. I've got this guitar and it's COVID and I think I'm going to start writing music. And he said, well, hell, when COVID lifts, the bar lifts, you should fly to Nashville and you should come get in the studio. And so this is how the universe works when we're in alignment with our soul. And I really believe that. So I said, okay, well, that doesn't happen every day. So that's a green light, right? And 2.5 months later, the flights opened up, the bar lifted, quote unquote, and I flew to Nashville. And I got off that plane. He picked me up and we went straight to the studio and I wrote my first song that night called Wide Open and I recorded it the next day.
That is
and amazing. I think it's just such a good reminder for anybody out there that it's one thing to have a vision and it's another thing when the universe opens up a channel for us to walk through it. But it's the thing to do is to walk through it. And I think a lot of the times we stop right at, okay, the universe opens up a door. And then either due to old trauma or insecurities or fears, we stop. And so I think to this day, I'm so grateful that I showed up for myself and I got on the plane and I moved through the fear because I've always been terrified to sing. And part of the reason I created Kelly Monrow is to overcome my fear of singing. So I just remember going, oh my God, I landed and I just will never forget that feeling. It was like my heart was in my butt. I was like, there's no way I can do this. But that was the key. And that's been the key my whole life with everything I've done. It's one thing to get the audition. It's one thing to show up, but it's another thing to actually show up on set prepared and to actually do it and to follow through. I think that's really kind of been the magic of my life is I just have had the bravery and the courage to just like walk through the gate.
Are you ready to lose inches, increase strength, and tone your body from head to toe? Are you ready for a total body, mind, and spirit transformation? I am excited to announce that I am launching my exclusive 8-week Pilates Return to Life training program. This will give you an opportunity to have a total body, mind, and spirit transformation of health and wellness to a new lifestyle. Imagine in 7 days you will feel a difference, in 14 days you will see a difference, and in 8 weeks you will have your new Pilates body. So what do you say? Want to join me on the mat? Head over to jenniferpilates.com today. Space is limited. Use this special promo code EW and the word special, EW special, to receive $200 off while space is available. Head on over to jenniferpilates.com and I'll see you on the mat. So a couple of things, because that's pretty amazing. And I want to touch on something that you said, the fear of singing. And so when we look at fear, fear always comes from some sort of event, something that's transpired. So when you look at that fear that you had, do you have a sense of where that fear came from, that you were afraid of your voice being heard?
Oh, absolutely. So, I mentioned my brother was a musician, right? So that's just the classic second child, older sibling having the limelight kind of thing. That's I would say a pretty normal thing for siblings, right? Well, my brother does that. He's the singer. So that was his label growing up. So overcoming that label, that's where that fear came from. Also, I was really probably self-oppressed as a child. Like my father left when I was 2 years old. And I think we now to this day have a great relationship, but that was a really hard process of coming to terms with, a parent abandoning you. Right. So I think at a very young age, it was being really careful what I say, because if I say something wrong, he's going to leave again. And that was always the story in my mind. And so I think that fear of self-expression, we talk about the throat chakra a lot, about how, people are blocked there. And I think growing up, it was just be as pretty as you can, say the right things, do the right things, be the best athlete, be the best everything you can be, but don't really express yourself, because if you do, people aren't going to like you and then they're going to go away. And that was always the story I had. Mm-hmm. And if I put myself out there and I speak my truth, then that's really dangerous. And so it's taken me a long time to unravel that and to unwind that. But I would say those are the two major fears that probably blocked me from singing to begin with.
And those are so huge. Thank you for feeling safe and vulnerable enough to share those, because I can promise you that there are plenty of us that have similar upbringing, similar situations, similar fears of being heard. So then you think that your voice, it's powerless. And then there are women like you who then you take that and then you totally transform it into being such an empowering moment.
Yes. I think everything that we go through is an opportunity to be a gift. I really believe that. And had I not had that repression and that insecurity, we always have an opportunity to take anything from our childhood and transmute it right into light, into love. And I think that now that I'm on the other side of it, I feel like my work in the next 40, 50 years is just going to be getting people back into alignment with their soul and who they really came here to be. Mm-hmm. And I don't really know how to do that yet. I always pray, show me how. And I always hear, you don't need to know your how, you need to know your why. And my why is that. And I know that everything else comes, but I'm really committed to that. It's something that's super important to me. And I still get so scared when I go into record, or I don't really sing in front of people. It's still a thing for me. But when I get to be Kelly Monroe and I get to get on stage and have the big curly hair with the leather pants on and the, 12 rings and all the bedazzle and cool shit, I feel really it's like my alter ego. So it's fun, but there are moments that I still want to get in the studio and just sing raw. And that comes from my heart. That's real.
So beautiful. So when we talk about Kelly Monroe, how was Kelly Monroe born, the singer? Because we have Kelly Dowdle, who will go into the studio and pour her heart and soul out. And then Kelly Monroe shows up on stage. So how did that transition work for you?
I think when I created this kind of moniker during COVID, it was I think Kelly Monroe still embodies just had I grown up having no fears or inhibitions, I feel like that's the older version of me that I would have been. And it's kind of weird to maybe understand, but I am me, right? And I'm now 39. I've had all these life experiences, but there's a level of vulnerability and tenderness that I have because of my experiences and because of all the lessons I've learned, where when I sing now, I get chills down my back because I feel my pain. I feel what I've been through. And Kelly Monroe doesn't necessarily have that. I think in my mind, she's more of a character of like just strong and badass and resilient. And she gives zero fucks. Like she's just there to put on a show and to have fun. And that's pretty much like kind of how I made it. So it's going to be interesting in these next few years to kind of bridge bridge the gap of like how do I merge those two lanes together? And maybe I keep them separate, but yeah, she definitely embodies just pure female empowerment, strong, not really caring at all. Whereas I feel like when I sing, there's a lot of vulnerability behind it. If that makes sense.
100% makes sense. Absolutely. How did you come up with Monroe? There's got to be a story to this.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, it is funny because everyone's like, oh, is it Monroe, like with an E, like Marilyn? So I've had a couple really weird experiences with Marilyn Monroe, like the spirit of her. And like, we can talk about that later, but I played Anna Nicole Smith on a made for TV movie, and she was obsessed with Marilyn Monroe. And I think the date, you have to cross check this, but I remember, I think the date of their deaths were the same. Like there's some weird connect with
Ooh.
Anna Nicole Smith and her. And also, obviously, their addiction to pills and alcohol and everything else. So when I was playing her, I felt this really strong connection to Marilyn Monroe, and I was kind of feeding off her for that role. And I've always loved the name Monroe. And then this is the weird part. So I believe my grandmother's middle name or somebody's middle name is Monroe, but with the W. But my dad thinks I made that up. So I still don't know, like, maybe I made that up. I don't know. But I knew it was going to start with an M, and I knew that I wanted it to end flipped with the W. Like that felt right to me, like M and a W. And so I think just by kind of like, I mean, knowing me, I probably drew a tarot card and, asked the gods to tell me what. But yeah, I don't remember how I landed on Monroe, but it was something of that arc of like Marilyn with the M and the W, and it just felt right. And then
Mhm.
I think it, yeah.
That is so cool. Do you think that there's an aspect of safety in that? Because being an actor or actress, the moment that you hit the stage, generally there's like this whole different embodiment that transpires. And do you think that that's that safety net that you have with Monroe when you're
Sure. Yeah, sure. And I think, again, I so appreciate that question, but I will point out we live in such a linear society, right? So it's like, are you a singer or are you an actress? Is your name
it's there's
Kelly or is it Kelly Monroe? It's like, I don't really affiliate with that. So I just, in my mind, I always tell people whatever you need to do, whatever you can do to let go of anything that's blocking you from being yourself, from just expressing and letting life come through you. I always talk about it's not about the exterior or the interior or how do I get this or how am I able to do this, but what comes through me, right? So I always tell people whatever it's going to take for something to come through you, whether it's creativity or love or expression, do more of that. So I think Kelly Monroe versus Kelly Dowdle versus singing versus acting, that was just that it's a linear notion to think, well, I have to be one or the other. Or when I'm on stage, Kelly is this or she's that. I just feel like this character allowed me to get out of my own way enough to be able to express myself. And that to me is like such a gift. And maybe she will transform into something else. Maybe I'll make up another name, another character for something that also is a tool that allows me to get out of my own way to then paint or to write a screenplay, whatever it is, right? But I just feel like that's my toolbox. And some people might say, well, maybe that's trauma based. You know what? Great. I don't care because it got me here. And it's a really smart tool, and it's a smart way for me to allow my inner child to come out and play. And I think if we all did more of that without any inhibition or judgment, I think we could all be doing a lot of amazing things.
Absolutely. And I feel like through this question just now, you answered your own question from a few minutes ago as to how things were going to come together. So I
Sure.
think I really feel like we just had like some therapy here.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my
feeling
gosh.
good.
So cool. So let's talk about the first song. I believe it was the first song that you wrote, Wide Open.
Yes.
And is this the song, tell me if I got this right, when you knew that you were on your healing path and that your heart was beginning to open again?
Yes. I still get chills. Yeah, that song I think is still my favorite song I've ever done. They always say your first is kind of your favorite, but yeah, I remember going to that studio, and Dean had followed me over the years of, going up to Santa Barbara, getting married, doing that whole thing. And I just looked at him and I said, man, that divorce just about crushed me. I think it just about killed my spirit. And he said, well, how do you feel now? And I said, I think I'm ready to love again. I'm pretty wide open. And he went straight to the piano and he just started playing. And he said, what did you just say? Say that again. And I said, I think I said, I'm ready to love again. I'm wide open. And he was like, that's our song. And we just started writing. And I'm telling you, I took old journals and things that I had written, and those words just came out. I mean, we wrote that song in an hour.
Beautiful and powerful. Yeah. All of your songs are they're just so full of depth on so many different levels, depending on how you're listening. But when I listened, there's just so many levels to it. And
Thank you.
The vibe from one song to another, even though I feel like we go from a moment of country to a little, I don't even know what, I'm definitely back in the 90s, to something else. And I'm like, oh, this is so fun. I love this. Because again, what I was giggling when I listen to your music and I'm like, she's so my girl. She so is not letting anyone keep her in a box, not in one genre, not anything. You are doing you. And I applaud you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I think I probably frustrated my producer a bit because it's like, I come in and I'm like, hey, I think I kind of want to do this Pink vibe, but 90s, but not like that. And she's like, okay. And then the next day I come in and I'm like, I think I want to do some Waylon Jennings, old school country stuff. She's like, okay. And then, of course, when I got to Paris, I'm like, I think I want to do a rap song. I want to do a rap song. I want to rap. And the people are like, okay, let's friggin' do it. So
and you pulled it off. It's fabulous.
Thank you. Yeah, I just feel like, as we're exploring our voices, it's really important to be playful. And until, I get it, once you get a big record deal, it's like, all right, well, now it's kind of not fun anymore, even though you're probably crushing it and making a lot of money, but then you have one sound. And again, it goes back to that linear thing. I don't do well with linear. It's like, okay, this is your sound. You're Kelly Monroe. You're a country pop star. You have to sing these songs, right? And I'm like, I don't no, that doesn't sound fun to me. So yeah, my goal is just to do a little bit of everything possible.
For someone out there who is so inspired at this moment, like I am, who says, I don't want to be in a box either. How are you accomplishing that in the music industry right now?
Just really, really following my gut and making music and doing things. Even in my life right now, I'm really listening to my intuition. And if it feels good, I'm just doing more of that. And it's really that simple. If I think when we go to make music or we go to write for the outcome and for the performative piece of it, I think it's always going to end up being shit. And I think if it's like, okay, today I'm feeling really frisky and I want to, fucking rap, I want to do this, you got to go with that. And even if you don't end up putting something out, I think you gotta stay in the flow of what feels good for you. So I would tell anybody, the way to be outside the box is just to constantly do what feels good. Because most of the time when we're doing what feels good to our soul, you're not even thinking about a box. And most of the time it's outside of the box.
Right. Now, what about, and again, this is not my forte, but I mean, I've heard from other people, you get in, you get the record deal, and exactly like you say, now you are stamped, and this is who you are, and this is what you sing. How do you get around that? Because you seem
I
to
think
have
you,
very well.
yeah, I mean, I think you just be very clear on what it is that you're wanting. I mean, the truth of it is that I don't have a record deal. I've just put all the music out on my own. And would I love a record deal? Absolutely. But I think it has to be in alignment with how I want to do things. And I think the other piece of that on the business side is, again, going back to LA and Santa Barbara when I was 19. I wasn't ready, and I wasn't firm in my stance as a woman on how I want my voice to be heard and what I want to say. I didn't even know what I wanted to say. I didn't have enough life experience. And that's not to say that some girls in their teens can't say very poetic stuff and do amazing things. But for me, I had to go through that process. So I think the piece of it for me now is like being able to sit in a boardroom and signing a record deal and going, okay, I'm going to do this, but we're going to do it my way. Because I think when you're not afraid to walk away from something, I think is when you hold the power and when things start to happen. And I think it's just aligning. And, I always pray, like, put the right people in my path, like put the people in my path that are going to take me to where I need to go. So, for example, I haven't really put that out in the ethers yet that I want a record deal, but when and if I really focus on that, it's going to be let the right label find me that will really support who I am and what I want to say. And I really believe, I mean, I'm big into prayer. I'm big in the power of prayer. It's my greatest weapon. I think we all have access to it and it's so powerful. But I think it's simply asking and then receiving. And that's like the grandest promise of like this life being humans is like all we have to do is ask. And
Right.
it's really as simple. I always give the explanation of like a child. It's like, the answer might not be right now, and it may not be yes right away. But more times than not, if we ask, it will be given to us at some point.
Right. Let's talk about the power of prayer and how important that is to you and how important
Yes.
visualization is for you and manifesting and how you do stay in alignment while in Paris, working on your spiritual side while doing music, while doing your videos and all of that, because it is hard to find that balance, that equilibrium within all of that.
I think for me, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like a daily vibration for me. So I start my day out with just praying. and not like a traditional, it's like people are like, what does it mean? I think it's so fascinating. Some people are like, I don't know what it means to pray. Like, what does that even mean? For me, every day I wake up and I give gratitude. I give thanks for just everything. And I just ask that the universe will show me what I need to see or be doing today. And most of the time it's really fast and it's simple. I'm in the shower or I'm, making coffee. But that kind of leads me. And then I really believe in hunches, like getting hits of things. And I'll usually get a hunch or a hit or something will kind of happen. And then I follow that. So I think the way that I stay aligned is I'm active, right? It's just like with everything we do, working out or drinking water or going, whatever the program is. It's like the more you do it, the more activated you are. So I think it's being intentional and activating it every day. I think when I have my hard days, the flip side of that is I also pray. And I just ask, I try to remember that everything is a gift, even on the days where it's really painful or something happens. It's also material, right? So, like, we can't write about all the happy stuff all the time. And I got to get material.
Right. You got to have some drama,
And that material is so,
you know.
I think that's how I stay grounded, is just activating that and then staying focused on that.
That's beautiful. And it's hard. It's so true. Success really isn't made with rainbows, right? Rainbows you get through the storms. And some of the most
Yeah.
successful songs, or even the songs, let's talk about your song Obvious. Like, let's go there, because I think that the song Obvious is very obvious to talk about right now. You have a lot to say, but yet not super deep, but enough that you're like, okay, I get it. I heard that song and I literally like, it took me to a place and I went, oh my gosh, is like she living my life? What's happening here? And it was so powerful. And how is that for you? I imagine incredibly therapeutic when you were writing that song.
So therapeutic and so necessary. Like, this is the kind of stuff that I want to be writing about now because it's important. And I can't tell you how many people have messaged me like, just that one line of, I've been strong since I was 2, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was enough for a lot of people. And I think that hits. And yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's important to sing about now for me.
Yeah.
That's
No,
it.
it's definitely, it's so important for our world. And I would say like that hit me. And you talk about being tired of someone being like, you got it, you're strong enough, keep going. Like you get tired. You get real
You
tired.
do. You do. And I think we really have to change the way that we're approaching being women specifically. I think for, like the past 20 years, it's been like, put your big girl panties on and suck it up and get out there and hustle and show everybody what you can do. And, which is great. It's great. And that serves a lot of people well. But there's also a level of femininity now that is my superpower, that I feel like I get way farther being soft and gentle, obviously strong and aggressive and forceful when I need to be on certain things. But I think there's a way to be really brave and courageous and strong and also very feminine and sexy and soft. I think that's very possible now. And I think
Absolutely.
that requires a level of confidence and safety.
And I would say growth, right? Because you're learning how to align
Yes.
your divine feminine and divine masculine. Whereas I 100% agree with you. The last 20 years, I've said numerous times over, I feel like women have bitten ourselves in the ass because it's flip flop things so much that heck, some women don't even know who they are. And if we do,
Yep.
we need to bring it back and remember that we are so powerful as divine feminines. We don't need to hold a shield. Our divine masculine can be just fine without a shield. When you were in California, do you remember Patty Stinger? She was the Hollywood matchmaker. Remember her with the dark hair? She had a
Yes.
show.
Yes.
Okay. So she, for years, had been telling women, she'd be on the show, and I know you're going to appreciate this, put down your penis and pick up your vagina.
Yes.
That's so what needs to happen. And as odd as it sounds, I suppose,
I
to some
love that.
listening to this, right? When I listened to your music, there was such a wonderful equation between divine masculine and divine feminine that I heard, and that, really touched my soul in different levels.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that saying. It's so good.
The best. So when you look at the leaps of faith that you have taken and listening to your gut and leaning into your intuition, what is the best advice that you have for someone who is just learning to do that and to trust?
To learn how to trust yourself. And I know that sounds very broad, but I can give you some tools on how to trust yourself, but do whatever you can to try to practice trusting yourself every day. Because I think the greatest level of strength and empowerment and grit and everything that I have found has led me to everything that's happened has been from simply going, I would put this in nobody else's hands except my own. I trust myself more than anybody else in the world. And I think that's really like the secret ingredient. And I've talked to some like mega superstars, like in person, like I've had conversations with them. And I will say, I think out of everyone I've talked to, the common denominator is that they really trust themselves. And I think that comes down to authenticity. But I would just tell somebody new that's really trying to figure that out, do whatever you can to 1000% really trust yourself. And of course, I have some helpful ways that help me get to that point, but that'll be all answer to everything, I think.
Right. I think that's beautiful. And it's true. It goes back to, if you can't trust yourself, who can you trust?
Yeah. And also I also think like making a creative choice and then not wavering, right? Like somebody that is trying to get outside the box, like we were talking about earlier, it's like make the choice, commit, and then have fun with it. But like, know that that's your answer. Know that that's what you're doing. And I think a lot of people have a hard time getting outside the box because they're like, I want to sing this song or I want to do this, but it's so different or weird that I don't think people are going to like it, or I'm not sure that I'm going to fit in or whatever. Like when you really trust yourself and you basically are authentic, that's when the magic happens. Because you don't care anymore. You don't care what the outcome is or how many streams you get, who likes it, who doesn't like it. I don't care anymore. I really don't.
That's an incredibly empowering place to be sitting at.
Yeah,
And
it's fun.
yeah. And what a table, right? Because now you're not waiting for an invitation to go to a table. People need to call you to ask to come to your table.
Yep. And it's also fun because it's like there is a seat for everybody, right? And I think once you find the table that you're good at, meaning you just are comfortable sitting at any table, is when you have the seat at every table. It's weird how that works, but I'm finally just like, I could literally sit alone and eat right now and be totally happy with myself. And it's interesting when you get to that place, then everybody wants you to be at their dinner table.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right. And you're like, no, just leave me alone.
Just leave me alone.
Just let me be in Paris, please. Oh my God, I love it. So, okay, I would be remiss not to ask this one question. Over the years, who have been the biggest influencers in your creativity, in your artistry?
Ooh, great question. Well, I think Dolly Parton will always be like the OG godmother of godmothers. I think she's just such a badass in so many ways. Businesswoman, plays like 100 instruments, solid gold. If anybody knows her story, if you don't know her story, you should check it out. She's so resilient and so cool in so many ways. Gosh, there's so many people. I love Bono. Like I think Bono is like the coolest man alive. But I look at his career too, and just how, again, how authentic and certain of himself he's been, has been a real expander for me. Meryl Streep has been, I call them expanders, and it's somebody that just shows you what's possible to keep expanding you and keep growing. Meryl Streep has always been somebody that I've really looked up to as far as being really tactful and classy, staying out of the limelight, but being in the limelight. I really love her. Same with Julia Roberts. She's always been a big one for me on how I want to be perceived in Hollywood, if that ever came to be. Somebody that's a family person, that's really classy. Musically, I mean, obviously there's like Prince, who's just been, he was just, again, authentic, you know, completely himself. He never questioned. If anything, he questioned why somebody would ask him. He never questioned himself. And if he didn't want to get up on a stage and he didn't want to go somewhere, he did not go. And I think that that's something that artists have a really hard time with. They'll go, okay, I'll negotiate. I'll get it. Okay, fine. I'll do that set. Okay, fine. I'll do this. I'll go. Okay, I don't really want to go. My family, you know, my family's being torn apart and I got to go on tour again. I'm not sure, okay, fine, I'll go. No, the answer is no. I don't want to go. I got to tend to my family first. That's, whatever that looks like, right? He's been an incredible example to me. God, there's so many just like going through my mind right now. I can't even reel them all in, but I would say those are a few. Oh, lastly, I will say just somebody growing up that I really looked up to. I think Shania Twain did an incredible job at branding herself and marketing her look and her sex appeal and her charm and her lyrics. I think she's done an incredible job at having a long-term career. So that's somebody in the country lane that I would say, her and Dolly, I would say, are pretty big inspirations.
Oh.
And then you've got the greats, you've got Tina Turner, and you've got there's so many amazing women, that gospel singers, and Mary Clayton. There's just so many. I don't even know where to begin.
But I love that you have, again, just as it's so amazing and in alignment with who you are. None of those people are in the box kind of people. What a genre of a mix of a beautiful, flower bouquet of wild and crazy flowers that you just brought together and made this beautiful bouquet out of with such energies. And so that I think really stands the test of time and speaks to your heart and speaks to your music and speaks to your morality and your authenticity.
Thank you. That's very sweet to say. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Well, we are getting to this time in the show where I ask this one question. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. What is one thing that no one knows about Kelly?
Oh,
Well, I would like to say this while she's thinking. This baby of a teddy bear just jumped up on her, and I just want to love up on him or her. Who is that?
He's the best. This is Cash.
Hi, Cash.
He's the best boy.
Hi, Cash. Oh my gosh, Cash, I'm in love. Hi, baby boy. He's like this. He's like, I'm what no one knew about. Hi, I'm here.
What is one thing that nobody knows about me? Okay, I have something. I had this irrational fear that there were sharks in the swimming pool, always, like literally until like 5 years ago.
I thought I was the only one that did that. I'm still can freak myself out in a pool.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. The weird thing is when I'm in an ocean or something, I'm still scared, but I'm not as scared as when I'm in a swimming pool in the deep end. It's the weirdest thing. But I would say I don't think anybody knows that about me. I like terrified.
I feel you. I totally get it. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing that. Will you share with our listeners where they can best reach you, follow you, and get all of your music?
Yes, I would love it. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I would say Instagram is the best platform. And just message me and I'll message you back. I'm super engaged with people. I try my best to respond. And I love communicating with people on there. My music you can stream on any music platform. Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, if you're overseas. Yeah, pretty much anywhere you can find it. It's Kelly Monrow with a W. Everyone tries to put in Monroe with an E.
Well, as always, all of Kelly's information, her links, her music, everything will be over in the show notes on jenniferpilates.com. As we close out the show today, what is one last piece of inspiration you'd like to leave with us, Kelly?
I would say just know that if it doesn't feel good right now, it's going to feel good. And if it feels good right now, know that it's not going to feel good again. And just trust that that's okay.
I love the yin and the yang of that. That's fabulous. Very good advice. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Well, Kelly, this has been amazing. Thank you for bringing me into your new petty. What do we call it in Paris? Is it a loft? Is it a flat? What do we call it?
It's a flat.
I was in petty today. Thank you. I appreciate that. This has been so much fun meeting you, meeting Cash. Thank you for your time, for your incredible energies. I so appreciate you.
I'm just so happy you had me on. Thank you for letting me be with you. And this was great. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And as we say, Until next time, may you live an empowered life from within. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Empowered Within with Jennifer Pilates. Your feedback is important. It helps me to connect with you and gives me insight into who you are and what you're enjoying about the show. For today's show notes and discount codes from today's sponsors, head over to jenniferpilates.com. Until next time, may you live an empowered life from within.